Well, Mission Ministries Weekend is really an opportunity to hear about the ways that people have been involved in having a life that is not conformed to this world, but being transformed through their involvement with Mission Ministries at Glenmar. So we always ask for people that can share about some of the impacts that different mission ministries have had in their lives or the lives of others. One of the mission ministries that probably many of you have been involved with over the years is our Wish Upon a Star program, which includes giving gifts out to people at Christmas. And today we have Donna Blackwell from the Howard County Public School System who's going to talk a little bit about that.
Again, I'm Donna Blackwell. I'm a pupil personnel worker with our Howard County Public School System. Excuse my voice, I was a little enthusiastic at my daughter's cheer competition yesterday. The Wish Upon a Star program here at Glenmar is something that's very near and dear to my heart. I've been working with it, I think, for the last 6 years with Stephanie Karras, and so I'm very honored to come and talk about that today and how it's touched the lives of our family. Each year, we have approximately 3 families that we're able to support, and they have an average of 3 to 4 children. So not only are the gifts for the children, they are for the parents as well. And to be able to support families in that manner, because the school system isn't set up for that. So to have a congregation such as yours who is willing to be so generous and so supportive of our families, it's absolutely wonderful. I come every year. I get my call from Phil, who collects all of the donations and helps me put them into my car, and I deliver to families. Now, last year, I'm thinking of the donations, and I actually had to come back a second time because someone was so kind to order a very fabulous shirt that a grandmother had requested, and it came from China. So it was delayed. So she was so grateful for that. And this grandmother is somebody who I cherish. She took in her abandoned grandson with special needs because her daughter had some struggles with housing and with substance abuse. So this is somebody who took in her grandson in her older years. And I'm so grateful for her. She finally, after 3 years, was granted legal guardianship of her grandson, but she struggles. So to have a program like Wish Upon a Star support somebody like that, she was very grateful, and I wish you all could have seen her face and all the praises. She praised all of you and considers me her angel and her gift from God. So it was very touching. So I just wanted to thank all of you for all that you do, and I look forward to meeting up with Stephanie and Phil again this year in December. So thank you.
Another way that Glenmar is involved in missions is some of our well-known mission trips. This summer was our second time going up to Baltimore for a week. We call it the Baltimore Mission Camp. And a first-time participant is Audrey Loudin, who's here to share a little of her experience.
My name is Audrey Loudin. I'm part of this year's confirmation class. This summer, I went on the Baltimore mission trip. I had a great time, and I really got to know my crew really well. One of my crew members is actually my friend in faith now. So on the mission trip, we had tons of fun. But most importantly, we were helping others. I feel like through helping others, I and others on the trip really grew as people. Personally, at the beginning of the mission trip, my faith in God wasn't super strong. I mean, I believed in God. I just didn't really understand why, and how he was helping us. Because, there are people all around the world that have terrible things happening to them. And not to be selfish or anything, but when I prayed to God, nothing ever really happened. So I wasn't really sure on how he was helping us. And so anyways, my brother and my mom were always talking about their mission experience. I kind of was really unsure about all of that because we would be talking to someone else and they would be talking about how they did something for some people who really needed it, and I didn't really ever have anything that compared. So when I learned that my mom signed me up for the mission trip, I wasn't too happy. I didn't tell her that, of course, but still. So, anyways, on the bright side, my friend Mary would be coming on the trip with me, but we'll get into that later. So the first 2 days of the trip, we went to Little Flowers and Paul's Place. Little Flowers is a daycare for kids whose parents might be in like a tough place or might not have the money to get them to another daycare. And Paul's Place is a soup kitchen that expanded into a place where people could get clothes, you can use computers to look for jobs, and so much more. I had a ton of fun at Paul's Place, but at first it didn't really seem like mission trip work because I didn't really interact with people that I was helping. At Little Flowers, I did meet the kids, but I didn't really enjoy it because my friend Mary, she wanted to work with the babies, and if I have to be honest, babies kind of scare me. I always feel that I'll do something wrong. I mean, I'm a certified babysitter, and I know what to do with them. I just don't think I know what to do with them. So, needless to say, at that point, nothing had really changed. Although the mission trip experience didn't happen right away, I'm glad it didn't. So now you're probably wondering, when did it happen? My big mission trip moment, as I like to call it, happened at Wednesday at the zoo. I know, probably like the weirdest place ever. So my friend Mary and I were having a ton of fun looking at all the animals. We went down slides, even though we were actually too old to do that. But long story short, we were having a blast. And I don't mean to be mean to Mary, but my day only improved when we got to the spinning turtle shells. The spinning turtle shells were these large fake turtle shells that little kids could go in and get spun around in by a parent or friend. So at first we were just sitting on top of them and spinning using our hands and legs, but we didn't go very fast, so Mary decided to get in one. There were other people there at the time, and they told us that the turtle shell that Mary had just gotten in didn't go very fast. And then they moved on to a different animal exhibit. So Mary and I still decided to try that one. And I spun Mary in it, but as those people said, it didn't go very fast. So Mary decided to go to a different turtle shell. But when she tried to get out, she was stuck. She struggled for a little while, not really wanting to ask me for help. I guess it was pride that was stopping her from asking for help. Anyways, after watching her struggle for a little bit and maybe getting a video, I finally asked if she needed help. She said yes, and although it took a while, we finally got her out of the shell. So if you're not a mind reader, you're probably wondering how this relates to God or church at all. Well, it made me realize something. If Mary, a 13-year-old girl, is too prideful to ask for help getting out of a turtle shell, imagine how hard it is for someone out living on the streets to ask for help. I feel like it's really empowering that they are able to reach out and say, I need your help. Some people see them as lesser because they are in this situation. Well, I think we should see them as better because they have the courage to reach out to others. And even those people who don't and struggle alone, they are facing this huge challenge and they aren't giving up. So before the mission trip, I was just thinking about all the ways God wasn't helping people and neglecting to see the way that He is. So yeah, maybe He isn't always able to change certain situations, but I know now that He is giving these people living in Baltimore the strength to deal with the challenges and giving others the kindness to help these people out. The rest of the mission trip just flew by, and everywhere I looked, I was seeing God acting through others, something that wasn't happening at the beginning of the trip. But eventually, the trip came to an end. It was sad that it had to end, but I know we really enjoyed it. So anyways, a couple days later, my mom kept commenting on how much I had changed. I hadn't even realized. She said that I had been being more mature and also helping out more. I guess it's because I had seen all these people fighting so hard and all the others helping. I guess I figured that if they can do so much, I can do one little thing to help out at my house. So this was just my mission trip experience, and I found it to be absolutely amazing. I encourage you all to go out and participate in one of Glenmar's many mission trips because although you may not see God through your friend getting stuck in a turtle shell, I guarantee it'll still be a fulfilling experience.
I hate following that. I really do. Well, good morning. I'm excited that this is the third annual Mission Ministries weekend at Glenmar. Now, for those of you that are unfamiliar with United Methodist doctrine, it is a well-established policy that once something occurs 3 years in a row, then we have always done it that way. And it's an inviolable tradition. So look forward to hearing about our Serving the World ministries on World Communion Sunday for at least the next decade or so. You need to book that now, Mandy. Okay, there you go. Now, speaking of doctrines, since this is Mission Ministries Weekend, I thought I'd take a moment to discuss the official mission of the church. What is it, according to the United Methodist Book of Discipline? Now, when I shared with Pastor Mandy that I did plan to briefly speak at each of the worship services this weekend, I asked her if she had any advice, and she said just to trust in the Holy Spirit and everything would turn out fine, but whatever I do, make sure I don't talk about church doctrines. They're sometimes hard to understand and can be considered boring. So, of course, I'm going to immediately abandon her advice. The mission of the church, according to the Book of Discipline, is to make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. Make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. Well, that sounds about right, and more than a little familiar. Glenmar's mission statement, in praising God, growing disciples, and serving the world, you hear that whole disciples and world, showing up in both descriptions. So if you're like me, and I know I am, you might be thinking to yourself that it's probably not a coincidence that Glenmar's mission statement is so close to the mission of the United Methodist Church. Of course, Glenmar also has a vision statement that we are a church that seeks to root people into the life-giving message of Jesus Christ. Now, several years ago, we had a number of smart people get together to decide how a church that wants to root people into the life-giving message of Jesus Christ would go about doing that. How do we make disciples for the transformation of the world? How do we help praise, grow, and serve? Now, out of that process came the discipleship pathway. Now, many of you are at least passingly familiar with the term discipleship pathway or the diagram of it. The discipleship pathway holds forth the conviction that there are at least 6 broad areas that each of us can grow in our discipleship to help transform the world. Now, these broad areas include spiritual growth, which is intentionally working on our knowledge of God through Bible study, prayer, devotions, fasting, and other spiritual disciplines. Worship, which is praising God in word and song, either in a group or individually. Christian relationship, which is intentionally spending time with a small group of fellow believers for study and fellowship and accountability. Generosity, which is sharing to support God's work with all of our resources, our time, our talents, and our treasures. Witness, which means to share with others the good works that we have seen God do in our lives. And service, which are actions that serve to benefit other individuals or groups. And for purposes of my sharing today, I want to make mission and service synonymous with each other. Now, people can enter the discipleship pathway at any of the 6 areas. And they can be at different levels in their maturity in different areas at the same time. For example, some people have a really good understanding of the value of worship, and yet they don't really understand the value of generosity. Someone else may be really enjoying a small group and gain the benefits of active participation, but be totally uncomfortable with the thought of sharing their faith or God experiences with others. Progress in the discipleship pathway, it's almost never really linear, and it's common to have as many backward steps as forward steps. Now, this is bad preaching. I'm going to ask you to bear with me for a second. I'm going to kind of do a seemingly non sequitur jump in my message. I'd like to briefly talk about the idea of gateway drugs. Now, this is a concept that early experimentation with alcohol or tobacco or prescription drugs can escalate to more addictive illicit drugs later in life. Of course, we should remember that caffeine is a drug as well, and some people start drinking coffee. Eventually, it can evolve to drinking espresso or then Red Bull or Monster or Rockstar. I myself am susceptible to the fried dough gateway drug. A donut hole or two on a Sunday morning can lead to an entire donut or a bear claw or an apple fritter later in the week. Today, I would like to offer the suggestion that not all gateway drugs are potentially bad, because I think that mission and service are the gateway drug of the discipleship pathway. In some ways, service is often the easiest first step onto the pathway. Realistically, nobody wants to move out of their comfort zone to participate in any area of the pathway that is new to them. We just heard Audrey share that, the idea of a mission trip she wasn't so sure about. Even though her mother and brother had encouraged her, it took having a friend coming on the trip that offered that reassurance. I think by dipping a toe into mission, you're making it easier to connect with every other area of the discipleship pathway. While some people have a natural inclination to help others through service or mission, most of us need that extra encouragement from a familiar face to get involved in something new. The reality is that when we become involved in service, we are both exposed to and frequently have the chance to be personally involved with spiritual growth, worship, Christian relationship, generosity, and witness. We experience spiritual growth through service because virtually every mission ministry at Glenmar is undergirded by prayer. Prayer for the participants, prayer for the recipients, prayer from our congregation supporting all of our mission outreach projects at the church. Some ministries have emerged out of an individual or small group's response to their understanding of what God is calling them to do through the Bible. Mission trip participants share devotions at least twice a day. And for over 15 years, our youth have gained an understanding of service by fasting through their involvement in the 30-hour famine. As for worship, many of us think that worship takes place only on Saturday evening or Sunday mornings in the walls of this building. Now, it's important to note that on many of our mission trips, we worship with local congregations or we worship of our own design. The day of service each year draws many hundreds of volunteers of all ages, races, and religions to one location here at Glenmar, where we're united in a common desire to serve the world. Seeing hundreds of volunteers pack hundreds of thousands of meals is an act of worship. Christian relationship is a wonderful side effect of involvement in service. Whether it's being part of a small group work crew on a mission trip, or consistently seeing the same group of volunteers when you work with Habitat for Humanity, or serve meals at the Day Resource Center, or tutor with college and career prep, or involvement in any of our other mission ministries, the opportunity to draw closer in relationship with fellow believers is always present. When it comes to generosity, service and mission just seems to draw the best out of people. Let me tell you about the person who is standing in line at the gift card table after worship, and here's the person in front of them saying that they are buying gift cards for the first time in order to start saving money for their child's mission trip. The person who overheard that conversation came to me and donated some of the proceeds from their own gift card family account to pay for that child's trip. Let me tell you about the day this summer when the water main out in front of Glenmar broke and the church had to shut down in the middle of the day. Normally this wouldn't be a big deal, but this was in the midst of the Baltimore mission camp, and we were supposed to feed 40 people in the evening back here at the church. I'm stressing out, figuring out what are we going to do. Well, one family with children participating on that mission trip contacted me and volunteered the use of their home to feed all 40 people that evening. Even crazier, another couple with no connection to the Baltimore experience reached out for me and volunteered the use of their home to feed 40 people. Let me tell you about the people that walk up to me and give me checks during the year and say, use this to help pay for someone going on a mission trip. Let me tell you about the people who take stars to provide gifts for children at Christmas. The people who bring grocery bags full of food to the church several times a year. The people who drop off donations weekly for grassroots. Let me tell you about the people that organize jewelry sales, 5K races, silent auctions, and golf tournaments to raise money for organizations in Howard County that help the least, the last, and the lost. Let me tell you about people who eat chili, pancakes or spaghetti for mission causes. I have lots of stories of generosity to share, but I do have the time constraints of being in worship. Service encourages generosity, and Glenmar, you are a very generous congregation. Of all the sections in the discipleship pathway, I think the area the most people struggle with is witness. We somehow conflate witness with the need to knock on people's doors and ask them, if you died tonight, would you go to heaven? Or maybe we have a vision of passing out gospel tracts on a street corner. Witness is simply sharing with others the wonderful ways that we have seen God work in our lives or in the lives of other people. At the end of the day, on every mission trip, we gather all the participants together in a circle. And we go around and we share something that we're thankful for in some way, or how we saw God at work during the day. At the beginning of the week, the sharing can often be superficial, shallow. But as the week goes on and people start paying more and more attention to how they're seeing God at work in their lives, the sharing goes deeper and it's more profound. This weekend, we have 9 different people sharing about how at least a half a dozen different ministries have transformed their lives or the lives of others. And all of that brings us full circle back to service. The beautiful thing is that we don't have to travel long distances or for extended periods of time to gain the benefits that come from service. Yes, I know that I'm probably known as the mission trip guy here at Glenmar, and I do have a special love for serving in mission through mission trips. But I'm equally in love with how we serve our neighbors right here in Ellicott City, Columbia, Baltimore, and other nearby locations. We tend to think of the mission trip as a far-off place and missionaries as people that have a special calling to go there. I just want to encourage you to make sure that you look at the sign when you leave the church parking lot today before you turn onto New Cut Road. It says Servants Entrance. It's our job, our calling, and in fact our blessing to be in mission right where we are every day. I'd like to end our time together by sharing a short video clip.